My biggest aha moments. Now, many years back I wrote a book called Father Christmas BC, and it was about a little dinosaur who took on the role of Father Christmas before Father Christmas. And again, like Father Christmas, he was going around delivering all the presents, but it was to all the little dinosaurs on Christmas Day. Now, since then I have done a lot of things. I have created a successful children's fiction book series. I have got into romance writing, or I was in romance writing, but I did chance my arm and I did get into it. I created fiction courses. I created courses for people who were in the low content book market. I created a podcast. I've done a lot of things. Now, this isn't for me to brag. It's just to say that a lot of water has gone under that bridge since I wrote that picture book. And back then, the person who wrote that picture book is completely different than the person who is on camera today and in this podcast episode. And that's what I wanted to go through today. I wanted to maybe highlight some of the things I had learned, some of my biggest aha moments. And as you probably listen to this podcast episode, some of you may be nodding on in agreement because you'll notice the same thing has happened to you. And maybe if you are maybe sitting on the sidelines, maybe you are somebody who, would like to get into fiction writing, would like to be a blogger, or would like to do something that, you're yearning to do. Maybe you're sitting by the sideline, for some kind of stupid reason that's in your head. Hopefully this podcast episode might kind of be the little crowbar or the lever that kind of breaks you away from that thinking and set you off to do what you want to do. So let's kick it off with the first thing I noticed, which was that nobody cares. Now, back when I wrote that picture book, I had a big fear in me, and the big fear was that I would be discovered by people who know me. So when I released the children's picture book into the Kindle store, I stupidly had the notion in my head that people would suddenly know it was there. I expected as soon as I hit publish, the following day, all of a sudden, all of my friends, all of my family, everybody that knew me would all of a sudden flood over to the Amazon Kindle store, find a book called Father Christmas BC, see my name on it, link the two together, and then everybody would come and racing to me saying, "Oh Barry, I see you've released a book in the Amazon Kindle store." Now, that was a notion I had in my head, and maybe you have that notion in your head, and now that I actually kind of say it out in public, it does totally sound ridiculous, but this was the idea that was in my head. But when I hit publish, I found that nobody noticed. My friends didn't notice, other than maybe the members of my family, like maybe my wife and maybe the kids. They were the only ones who knew that I'd published that book. But other than that small circle of people, nobody in the world knew that that book had been released. I didn't find any of those people, like I thought, friends and family coming to my door trying to embarrass me, make a laugh at me, or whatever it was. But this was the notion I had built up in my head. And you will find when you do publish your first book, you will probably have a little bit of fear of everybody noticing you, of everybody seeing your name maybe in the Amazon store. But when you really think about it, how many of your family and friends are reading romance novels right now? How many of them are, on the Kindle store? How many of them are actually readers? Probably very, very, very few. And the very few that could be maybe searching in the genre you're in, it's probably rare that they'll even find your book. But unfortunately, we build this notion up in our head that we expect everybody in the world to care as soon as we publish that book. In reality, there is probably only 5 or 10 people whose opinion you're worried about. You're worried about embarrassing yourself in front of them. Everybody else doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, if you think the whole world is turning in your direction, as soon as you hit that publish button, if you think that everybody is watching you over the next couple of days to see how your book goes, to see what the reviews are like, to even to download that book, I'm here to tell you that you're sadly deluded. That is not going to happen. People in this world, if you look at social media and Twitter, most people have the attention span of a goldfish, and as soon as you hit that publish button, probably not even a second later, a millisecond later, their attention will be on something else. So, as I said, when I did kind of explain that story to you kind of out in public rather than what was going on in my head, it does sound ridiculous, and maybe that is what is holding you back right now. You are in fear that everybody is going to care when you release your book. But as I said, the chances of your friends and family actually coming upon your book, the chance of them actually putting 2 and 2 together, even if your name was on that book, is very, very slim. So nobody cares. And that was the biggest aha moment I had, was that, even doing these podcast episodes, the chances that anybody that knows me would probably go on to YouTube or go on to iTunes, look up my name for whatever reason and say, I wonder, has he got a podcast? The chance of somebody actually doing that is very, very rare. And the chance that they will actually, listen to any of these episodes is even rarer. So I can say whatever I want about them and they'll never ever know. So, as I said, nobody cares. Now, another thing here, you will notice that you're always going to get haters. Again, you're probably in the early days. You think that you are the nicest person in the world. You think that why would anybody take offense to something you've wrote? Why would anybody, you've done your best, you've written the best book you can, you've really, really tried your best. You didn't try to waste anyone's time, you didn't try and take anyone's money in a kind of unfair way. You felt that you wrote a fair book, so you deserve a fair price for it, and maybe you have those thoughts going on in your head, and then suddenly you get a bad book review. People slate it, and they say it's the worst book they've ever read, that your fingers should be smashed with a hammer, and that you should be locked away in a room that doesn't have any keyboards in it, and the world will be a lot safer place. Now, as I said, if you are somebody who, is a kind of a nice person, doesn't want to offend, doesn't want to hurt anybody, and is really, really trying to do their best, sometimes those kind of book reviews really can stop you in your tracks. I know in my early days, when I got the odd bad book review, I could have maybe 20 good reviews, but my attention will always be to that bad book review. That'll be the one that'll be replaying over and over in my mind. The other 19, they just wash over me. I'll probably agree with them and say, yes, that is a good book, and yes, it was written well, and yes, all those different things. You'll agree probably with all those comments. Well, maybe you'll agree with some of them. You mightn't have a swelled head so far or a big ego, but you might agree with some of it. But that bad review, it's going to be like a thorn in your side. It's going to be niggling at you. You're going to be questioning yourself. You're going to be thinking, well, are they right? Did I really rip people off? Should I maybe take that book off because, it's not as good as I thought it was? But I'm here to tell you that you're going to attract haters to you. You're never going to please everybody. You probably know, like even in real life, you can walk into a room and for whatever reason, you will find maybe somebody might just turn their nose up at you and just take an instant dislike to you, even though you've never even opened your mouth, even though you might have never met this person before. But for whatever reason, this person just, you rubbed them up the wrong way, and unfortunately that is going to be the case with people online too. People in the Kindle store or any platform or whatever you are selling on, or again, even if you go to blogging or something like that, sometimes you will get maybe nasty comments on your blog posts. But sometimes you're just going to rub people up the wrong way. It's got nothing to do with you. It's just whatever's going on in their head. Maybe you remind them of somebody else. Maybe there's something going on. Maybe they're having a bad day and they feel like lashing out, and unfortunately you are the person who is on the receiving end. So again, dismiss those people. You can't please everybody. In fact, if you do think about it, the more haters you have, probably the more successful you are. If nobody is hating on you right now, it's probably because nobody knows about you. And when you do get those couple of haters, that is actually maybe a little chalk mark on your board towards the road of success. Because, as I said, if you're not discovered, if people don't know you're there, can you really get haters? And it's only when you start getting more and more haters, it means that more and more people are finding you, and that is even more of a reason to keep going. So even though you may think you are the sweetest thing since maybe Mother Teresa, you are going to get people who hate you. So it's time to just turn your attention off them and turn your attention on to the people who are happy with your books, people who enjoy being around you, and all those different things. And that was one of the biggest aha moments for me. Again, I, like most authors, I'm assuming probably there's many authors has probably stopped in their tracks because they got a bad book review. It just totally knocked their confidence, and the person on the other side mightn't have meant to maybe throw a spanner in the works, but I'd imagine there are many authors who got slated in a bad book review and it stopped them in the tracks, which is unfortunate. Unfortunately, they focused on the negative rather than on keeping the people who like their work and focused their attention there instead. So that was one of the biggest aha moments for me, was that you're going to get the haters, but to remember that the more successful you are, the more haters you are attracting, so you're going in the right direction. Now, probably the final one now, if I sum it up, is that success is on the other side of embarrassing yourself. I wrote that in a quote a long time ago, and it was only when I actually wrote it down. I don't know where that piece of advice, sometimes you have this brain fart, or sometimes this kind of motivational quote comes from the back of your mind. You don't know where it's come from. It might have come from the universe, God, whatever, but some kind of cleverer part of you comes out with a great line. And on that day I wrote that down, and it was only when I actually looked at it I said, it's so true. Anything you want, any success you want, is on the other side of embarrassing yourself. If I want this podcast to be successful, I have to be aware that to get there, I have to embarrass myself many times in these episodes. Many times I'll probably stutter. Maybe sometimes, even when I listen back to some of these podcast episodes, sometimes I'll leave a word out in a sentence. Sometimes I might say the wrong word. But I know that for me to get better, for me to grow an audience, and for me to kind of iron out those kinks, I've got to go through this kind of valley of disappointment, of making a fool of myself over and over again. So if you want to be successful, if you want to be a successful author or a blogger or whatever it is you are looking to succeed at, be aware that whatever you're looking for, whatever success it is, there is a kind of road of embarrassment that you need to go through to get to the other side. You have to be like that stand-up comedian who is probably getting booed off the stage. Like I remember listening to or reading something about Chris Rock, and how many times he was booed off the stage, how many times he was told he was sucked, and how many times he was told never to come back to a comedy store. And I'd imagine a lot of those times he was completely embarrassed. I assume he probably cried many a night because he got such a kind of a raw treatment from the audience. But those kind of embarrassing moments, that was what he had to go through, the criticism and everything else. He had to go through all that to get to the other side, to the success of the dream that he was at. So again, just summing up those three things again. The first thing is nobody cares. That was a big aha moment for me, and it will be a big aha moment for you. There probably is 5, maybe 10 people's opinion that you think really matter, and that is holding you back. The rest of the world is out there waiting for your book or your blog post or your videos or whatever it is you have to give, but you are holding yourself back because of 5 or 10 close people. It might even be one person. It might be a parent, it might be a family member, it might be a close friend. You're afraid of embarrassing yourself because of one person. Out of all the billions of people in the world, it's one person that's holding you back. And I want you to think about that. Is it worth your while sitting on your talent or your craft or whatever it is you're looking to do because one person is in your way? If that person has such a hold over you, maybe it's time to give them less attention, maybe spend less time with them, and go and do what it is you need to do. So nobody cares what you are doing. You're always going to have haters. Again, no matter how successful you are, you're always going to have haters. Go to the Harry Potter book series, look at the amount of bad book reviews. You could be a big lover of that book series, the videos and everything else, or the films. Even do kind of movie reviews. Go have a look at the bad movie reviews, or go to the Kindle store and look for all the bad book reviews on the Harry Potter series. That book is so successful, those movies have been so successful, but they have a huge following of haters along at the same time. And as I said, the larger the number of haters, the more successful you are. So you are going to attract haters to you. Be aware of that and carry on doing what you want to do. And then success is on the other side of embarrassing yourself. Whatever you're looking to do, whether it's maybe get up on stage, play a guitar, do videos like these, podcast episodes, do writing or whatever, be aware that you are going to embarrass yourself. You're going to embarrass yourself more than once, but you've got to be willing to embarrass yourself to get to where you want to go. If you're somebody who is afraid of embarrassing yourself in public, afraid of making a show of yourself, I'm here to tell you, unfortunately, you're not going to get to where you want to go. So forget about everybody else. You're all going to embarrass yourself, and the more times you embarrass yourself and the more you do it more often, the quicker you're going to get to whatever your goal is. So keep those 3 things in mind. As I said, you probably might be nodding along in agreement with me, maybe if you're further along on your journey. But if you're somebody who is starting out, maybe keep a note of those 3 things. Keep them on a piece of paper beside your laptop or whatever, and remind yourself over and over again. And in time, after doing what you need to do, in a couple of weeks, a couple of months time, you will look back and you will totally agree with me that those things were big aha moments for you. So I hope I've helped somebody out there. I hope I've maybe made somebody take some action and do what they want to do. And as always, if you'd like to find out more about these podcast episodes or these videos, if you do a search for WriteCome, that's WriteCome.com. You can do it on Google, you can do it on Yahoo, iTunes, Facebook or whatever. You'll find the content all over the web. And if you'd like to go to the WriteCome site right now, which is called WriteCome, WriteCome.com, you'll find a great free report there, which is called Words to Wealth. And in it, I'm going to show you 10 different ways you can make money from your keyboard. So if that intrigues you or you'd like to try it out, give it a go, head over there, download the report and let me know how you get on with it. So as always, have a great day and thanks for listening. Take care. Bye bye.